Hey everyone, welcome to Deus Ex Musica, episode 9, with
Blendrix.
he remembers his name, and Gosh, where we talk about, we're two musicians discussing topics that are important to us this particular week. First topic.
First of all, let's say what we're going to be reviewing here.
We really need to get this schedule of events on these episodes locked down. But
what we're reviewing today is a special kind of brew. It's an alcoholic ginger beer called Krabby's. It is
makes me think of SpongeBob.
from the. Let's see, where is this?
I don't know. Malt beverage with natural flavors.
Halewood International, Wilson Road. Imported by St. Killian Importing Company.
Oh, Edinburgh. My dad studied there. We should probably look all this stuff up before we start.
Probably.
But anyway, it's Krabby's. It's a alcoholic ginger beer, and I really
4.8% alcohol level.
And I like the bottle. So,
and I've been looking forward to trying this with you guys for a while. So
I don't really care either about you guys. I just wanted to try it. So, cheers.
Cheers.
That's good. All right. That's really good.
Nice.
I think I know what I want to rate it already. But we'll have you wait till the end of the episode.
All right.
But
first topic.
On a serious,
pretty serious note. You guys may have heard about this. For those of you in Colorado, I'm sure you've already definitely heard about it. But we just got the sentencing verdict. It was already decided that James Holmes, the shooter in the Aurora shooting, it was decided he was guilty, and it was a couple weeks ago. And they finally came out with the sentencing, which was life without parole. So this, of course, has sparked all kinds of feedback in the general community. People saying, "Oh, screw this! We should just drag him out and shoot him in the streets."
And it's pretty much anything online. I'm sure all of you guys are familiar with these rabid responses, but we do have a legal system. We do have laws. We do have procedures. We do have precedents, and we do have juries. And the thing is me personally, I would have loved to have him receive the death penalty. I don't approve of the fact that it would probably take 18, 19, 20 years to get it sorted out. But I am for the death penalty. But I respect the fact that there is a process in place where if the jury decides no, he goes to jail for life, that is justice being served. That is how that's how it functions. So some people were saying, well, he got away with killing these his victims, and
if he got away, that'd be if he was living on an island somewhere, free.
That would be him being O.J. Simpson.
Right. Yeah.
That's getting away
who
with.
is now in jail on other charges now, but beside the point. Yeah. So this is interesting because Gosh and I have actually different views on the death penalty. I am against it for reasons that don't really apply in this case because obviously it's him that did it. I mostly am against the death penalty because there's really, in a lot of cases, there's no way to know for sure that the person who's convicted is the person who did it. Unless, you have all of these witnesses at the theater who saw him do it.
Or that's video evidence.
There's so very rare situations where that actually is the case, where death penalty is sought for someone, where it's like all that they really have on evidence is really kind of... And there have been cases where people got overturned, and they ended up getting released from prison. And if that person had the death penalty, then they would have been dead and we couldn't do anything about it. There have been other people who have been executed and they were exonerated after the fact. So that's one of the reasons I disagree with death penalty in general. But this is one of those things where that doesn't even come into play because the very first thing that the defendant, the defense offered with the DA and said, look, we'll take this as a life in prison without parole. That was offered. That was on the table. But the DA, being an elected position, and this is the key, when you're an elected official, you have reason to take things to trial that everyone is all up in arms about. Because no one's going to reelect you if they said, you let the guy get away without going to trial. So this is what I think is one of the main problems here. It isn't so much what happened in this particular case is the fact that the DA is actually an elected position. And that means that going forward, they will always have incentive to take to trial cases that have no business going to trial. Or in this case, everybody's saying, oh, well, the reason we can't go with the death penalty is because it costs too much. And people are like, the expense difference between life in prison and execution is pretty substantial. It costs more to execute someone than it does to keep them in prison for life because of usually how long it takes for them to go through the appeals processes and all that kind of stuff. But the amount of money they spent on this trial, this circus of a trial, was $3.5 million. That is a huge trial that they never had to go through. And because the defense said, you know what, yeah, we'll take it. Life in prison without parole. And that's what they ended up getting anyway. After they went through this long trial, and they still didn't get what they were trying to get.
We have to perform the circus, so to speak. And that's the problem.
Which is why I don't think we should have an elected DA. If they got rid of that, then there would be no incentive for the DA to take it to trial unless they thought that they really could get the conviction. In this case, they didn't. I don't think it was whether they thought they could get a conviction or not. It's this person wanted to make sure that they kept favor with the public, which is not what a public official should be doing. They shouldn't be trying to get reelected. They should be trying to serve the laws that are on the books.
This could dovetail into a completely different discussion where I don't think government officials should be able to do more than one term. So that eliminates any sort of motivation to, well, will I get elected? No, you do the right thing and then you piss off.
So maybe people ought to be put in for longer terms in the first place.
6 years maybe.
Yeah, and then not have a re-election thing, so that basically it's like, okay, you're in. You have some time. Make sure you get shit done.
But you don't have to worry about getting re-elected.
Right.
So,
right.
But it's... well, I mean, the guy got what was coming to him. Me personally, like I was mentioning, I would personally prefer if he was executed. I don't like the fact that the process takes so long, but I respect the justice was served, and this was the decision of the court. And I don't the fact that people are saying that we should take him out the street, shoot him in the head, have him raped by whoever the hell.
He's going to get all that in prison anyway.
He may not. I don't understand why people assume that everybody is going to get raped for the crime they made that they did in jail, because everybody in prison has committed some sort of horrible crime. So there's nobody that deserves more raping than someone else.
I'm not saying that he's going to get raped for his crimes. I'm just saying in general that him being in prison is not going to be a pleasant place.
No, it's.
And strangely enough, people in prison, there's a lot of like really, really hardened criminals in prison that have a really sort of strange sense of justice. They will pay special close attention to making the lives miserable of people who are really child molesters and people who are like serial killers and stuff like that. People who have killed, a lot of people that are in prison, they're there for drug charges and stuff. So they've got like. They've got their ties with their mafia families, or their cholo gang kind of guys.
It's like you may be a shitty person, but I'm less shitty than you.
Exactly, and a lot of them have a weird, strange sort of code of honor about what's actually wrong and what's not, or and they think that they could be in prison for something that's not really. Anyway,
but in the end, it's the guy is in prison for life. People are gonna look at him.
He will not get out.
He's not getting out, and that's that. And for people to to say the things that they're saying is not relevant. That's why we have juries. That's why we don't have Facebook decide what things should be done. Is because things would be hellacious if we had vigilante justice everywhere. Then. Hell,
no one would be safe from anything. Because everyone is related to something that's gone wrong at some point. Mm-hmm. And so, if we had vigilante justice, I mean, any of us that lives here that was a descendant of an immigrant in the last couple hundred years, we could be potentially, the targets of Native Americans who decide, you know what, we want to take our country back. We don't have that kind of justice. Yeah. We have a society that's precedents. Yeah, we have a society that's based on order and
mostly.
Yeah, it's based on that. Doesn't mean it always is orderly.
But I mean, considering it's not like he got out or there's a chance of parole. The guy's in there. He's never getting out.
Yeah,
He'll die in jail.
Yes.
So that's the end of that chapter, so to speak. Facebook will complain about it till somebody kills an antelope in Nigeria or something next week, and then that's going to be the new topic of discussion. So yeah, that was the big thing of the week, and he's in jail. Good for everybody.
And like for the people who wish that he was going to be executed, I challenge you to think to yourself, why is it that you want another person dead? That's vengeance. That's not justice. And there's a fine line on the side maybe to be drawn between vengeance and justice, but it's a good point to try to think to yourself, why do you want an additional person to be dead?
To me, it's convenience. It's not vengeance. Because to me, he didn't kill anybody I knew.
Right.
Sorry if anybody who was watching had somebody that they cared about that. I don't know any of them.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, the death penalty would be just convenience. You never have to deal with this person ever again. It's just he's dead,
and that's a more ethical reason to support the death penalty than the one where a lot of people are saying he just needs to fry for killing all those people.
And that's my thought on the death penalty. I know most of you think I just like killing just because I hate everybody, which I do. But the death penalty for me is just it's a convenience thing. I imagine having to take care of something forever, or to just never have to worry about that thing ever again. So to me, it's just kind of filing it away and never having to worry about it again. Because if you kill the guy, if the process wasn't so long and arduous and complicated and took so much money and time, if they could execute him, the verdict was today, they execute him tomorrow, you never have to worry about it again. Mm-hmm. You don't have to feed him, keep him, have him under guard, anything. Right. So to me, it's the convenience part of it. But either way, it doesn't matter. To me, it doesn't matter. He will not interact with society in any meaningful way ever again. I don't think he'll even get correspondence in there. So yeah, as far as that's concerned, that's done. I wish it hadn't taken so long, because how long has it been since he...
It's been, 3 years now? Something like that? It's been a long time.
Imagine it took this long. 3 years to get the guy convicted and sentenced. So, better late than never. So...
All right, next topic. You want to introduce this one?
I'm not... I don't lean Republican or Democratic. I come from a democratic monarchy. But I really, really, really was interested in watching the circus that was going to be the Republican debate, the GOP debates. It was yesterday, or day before yesterday. Yeah. And we were, or I watched it. Jimmy watched probably most of it. Yeah. And... I was kind of disappointed. I was expecting either... Actually, I wasn't expecting either. I was expecting things to go completely off the deep end. And everybody was rather well behaved. And nobody asked any questions that brought any sort of light or understanding or... The debate did not change my mind about anything. There was
didn't settle any
nothing. All the questions were pussyfooting.
Yeah,
there was no direct question.
They were softballing it. They were underhand throwing all these questions, and they were just like, I felt like there was no hard hitting questions that were actually going to separate the wheat from the chaff, if there is any wheat in this. It
was all very high level. I will fix stuff, because I fixed stuff in a town of 7 people in my constituency or so. There was really... I'm trying to think. There really was... The one sort of pointed question, I think, throughout the whole debate was when they were asking Trump about his bankruptcies. Mm. And actually, he was probably... I would say he was probably my favorite. Not... because I think he'll make it as president. He may. Who knows? Depending on who the Democratic...
Scary as that is.
People are getting tired of how things are being run right now. So they may just go for the absolute batshit crazy... like that guy. That weird guy over there. He'll change something up. But I mean, if there's one thing I know about Trump is he knows how to make money. So if he filed for bankruptcy on certain things, then I'm 100% sure that was something planned to generate revenue somehow.
Oh yeah.
So
there's plenty of people who file bankruptcy, and they know full well that they're doing it with their next 5 moves in mind. Like
exactly
50
right.
Cent is going through that right now.
Exactly
he's going through
right.
a bankruptcy, but basically he's trying to like get all the people he's involved with kind of off his case, because trying to make some new moves. But of course they're all going to go into court and I'm barely making any money at all. I got all these child support payments, they're gonna make it sound like that. And then as soon as the bankruptcy is discharged, they're gonna go right back to doing whatever they. I mean, so that to me looks a little scary, because you can't just do that with a national checkbook. But
we have kind of been sort of. I mean, we haven't filed bankruptcy, but we keep saying, well, we'll just borrow an extra.
Right, but bankruptcy is much different. I mean, basically, bankruptcy is just erasure of debt. You can't do that without having all your,
well, that's World War III at that point. But I mean,
depending on what debt they end up erasing. If they erase domestic debt, then you basically have revolution on your mind. Another civil war.
This is a scary thing. I don't think we'll ever pay that debt back ever. So I don't know if it's our generation. Well, we're already sort of dealing with it, but what comes to a head is it going to be during our time, our kids' time, our kids' time? Because we owe more than I think the entire planet generates as far as money. So
how is that even possible?
Right.
Right. How can you owe more than the
planet makes? Yeah. So it's just I
owe to whom exactly? How do you even have? We couldn't have borrowed that much, right?
Exactly right. Which is why I get into these arguments with probably more so the Republicans, where they say, "Well, how are you going to pay for all this stuff?" We're not paying for anything anyway. We keep saying, "How are we going to pay?" We're not paying. We'll never pay it back. So if you're going to fuck everybody anyway, you might as well try to take care of some people too. Because when people say, well, if education's free, if university's free, how are you going to pay for that? It's like, well, how are you going to pay for anything else? Right. Like, why this specific thing now that you're saying, well...
Right. How are you going to pay for this? Like, well, wait a second. How are you going to pay
for this war?
All the military spending. Part of the reason we have $18 trillion, whatever, how much it is in deficit now, is because of the fact that we've had all these wars overseas.
13-year war.
We never figured out a way to pay for any of that. We never raised taxes for that.
No.
We didn't get war bonds. Like, none of the ways that people used to pay for wars. Like, it's all been financed. It's been putting on the fucking...
I mean, they're siphoning
companies
oil out of...
American Express card, for crying out loud.
They've been siphoning oil out of Iraq. Well, I guess Saudi and Kuwait too. But that's not covered. But what the point that I'm making...
money doesn't buy... oil doesn't buy guns. It's not like you can just take the oil. Like, who are they going to sell it to? If they're just taking oil...
The Russians? No, wait, the Russians.
The Russians have their own oil.
I know, yeah. but I guess the point is, I'd like to think that I would like to be a fiscal conservative, but I also understand the fact that nobody's going to pay this shit back. Mm-hmm. So for you to suddenly say, no, this line right here is where I'm stopping, it's like, well, everything up to this line is pretty fucking ridiculous already. Mm-hmm. To say, well, there might not be Social Security left. It's like, well, the amount of money you spent on the office furniture is more than the entirety of Social Security. So now this is the line. So, but coming back to the debates, nobody really said anything that made me change my mind about any of them. None of them stood out as decent people. Chris Christie, I was mentioning, looked like he... ate the other 7 candidates.
That's why they weren't on stage.
Exactly.
He had them for a snack in the green room.
Exactly. Jeb, I mean, anything he says is going to be drowned out by the fact that he's related to Bush.
Yeah. It's kind of sad because he had, he has good connections from a family-wise perspective, but because of the fact that he's
related to W.
If he had...
And his speech, his manner of speaking, it reminds me more of W's dad.
Yeah,
definitely. But the problem is if you think terrorism... Well, I shouldn't say terrorism because I don't want to say... if you think the Middle East, the regions that are up in arms are unhappy with the states right now. If you put another Bush, just wait to see what happens, because it's not that it makes any sense, but just having a Bush in the White House is going to make a lot of people see red. So I don't see him.
No.
I mean, it would not be intelligent.
Not that the general American populace that's going to be voting for the president has any concept whatsoever of foreign relations.
No, that was the first thing when I saw him. I'm like, if they put another Bush in there, it's
going to be bad news.
It's going to be bad, because it's going to take another, I don't know, probably 18 years or so before people forget about
everything
Bush.
that happened to Bush.
Yeah, because it's too fresh. It's like there's not going to be a black president elected for a while because of just how many people dislike Obama.
Speaking of potential black presidents, what'd you think of Ben Carson?
The pediatrician.
Yeah, he's a neurosurgeon. Wait, and the whole time he's talking, like, he did not seem that bright to me.
No,
and honestly, you're a neurosurgeon? How exactly?
He honestly looked like he accidentally walked in there. It's like they're all white. Hey, black guy, come stand here.
Token.
He really that's really what I felt, because he just, when they talk, he's like, well, I don't know if you heard, I'm a doctor. I was like, yeah, we know.
Yeah.
It
says on your placard. Dr. Ben Carson. So
he literally was token black guy. There was nothing. He said one thing that I was like, yeah, and then I recalled that it's a very inspirational meme kind of thing, where it's like, they're trying to divide us, but we should stick together. I'm like, all right, cool.
Right. No.
And then what?
Anybody can say that.
And exactly right.
Because if you follow that with pretty much any of the other nonsense rhetoric that most of them were spouting the whole rest of the night, it's like, well, okay, so
he was the least silly sounding, but again, that doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah. He was the least clownish of all of the clowns in the clown car.
Yeah, he probably wanted to get back to work, maybe?
I guess.
He just did not look like he belonged there. Who else was
Huckabee.
Oh, my flippin' Christ. That I have never seen somebody who is that adamant about self-destruction. Him and, what's that other guy with the short, fat guy with the big forehead, and his face looked like it was kind of leaking down his face. It wasn't Huckabee.
Well, that description meets. I mean, that sounds like Mike Huckabee, but that could also be Chris Christie.
Well,
not a whole lot of them looked like they were in great shape, actually. I mean,
they're not. Well, Rubio
looked like he probably works out.
Yeah. One thing I was wanting to mention about Rubio, he was a non-presence until the closing statements, and then he was charming as shit. He just came in out of nowhere talking about, my parents were immigrants and this is the American dream. And I was listening, I'm like, huh, I kind of feel something here.
Yeah.
So he came out of nowhere.
I thought, out of all the candidates, I felt like he had the best stage presence, the ability to hear the question, actually address the question, figure out a way to say everything he needed to say within his time limit and not keep running over like everybody else did. And then, have enough time to flash a big smile and get the applause right before the buzzer. Like, that part I thought he had managed really well. And if he
presence.
Yeah, and if he had less insane policies, I think he'd actually have a shot.
The problem is all of them. Like some of the if you ask them, it's like, would you defund Planned Parenthood? Absolutely, I would.
Well, yeah,
and then there was there was two questions I remember from social media that they asked them. One of them literally was I posted about it, and people thought I was joking, but I was paraphrasing what this woman was asking. This lady was essentially asking, what are you guys going to do to protect me and my bigoted views from being attacked when I somehow display the fact that I'm bigot? Like, if I owned a shop and I didn't want to serve gay people or Arabs or what, how will you protect my freedom of speech to be racist or bigoted? Right. That was literally the question. So
is this like a troll? Like somebody?
No, it was some lady from Pasadena or something. She literally was asking, "How will you protect my my freedom of expression in the face of other people's freedom to?" I wish I remember. I'm sure one of you out there will know exactly, but you know exactly what I'm talking about if you're watching the debate. She was literally saying, "Which one of you will protect me being bigoted?"
Wow.
So
I like the question. There was a guy that was basically said, "So what?"
The guy,
yeah.
that was the second. That was my. But that guy was being a troll.
What did God say to you when He told you to run?
Yeah, exactly. I believe he was trolling, but they went with it. They fucking went full blast into it. God talks to me every day. It's like that. Well, my religious views don't have anything to do with politics. Especially if I was in politics, I would not mention my religious views because I don't think your politics should be colored by religion.
Because your religion is supposed to be a personal thing, and how are you going to let your views about what is important to you personally be the way, affect the way you're going to represent everybody else that's not you personally?
Well, but that's the that's what was scary is if one of them said that, I would say okay, but all of them were like, God told me to do this. God told me, and that's scary because that same speech happened when Bush invaded Iraq and Afghanistan. He said God told him.
Yep,
that is scary. When you say, "Well,
super scary,"
God told me to rape this woman.
What's really crazy is this is what makes me. It makes me, as weird as it sounds, it makes me miss people like Ron Paul, who is a religious man, but he actually has gone out of his way to say that his religious convictions have nothing to do with the way he would legislate on things.
If somebody said that, I would be with them. But
all his son, Rand Paul, is supposedly following in his footsteps, but he's going off the deep end doing all this Tea Partier stuff with saying that he believes that actually God is speaking to him. And it's like, really?
And influencing policies.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I said none of them really. And this is the problem. This is what happened last time, essentially. What I'm worried about and what I'm seeing is it's not going to be who do we want to be president. It's which person sucks the least out of the shit pile that is going to be president. And that is a horrible way to pick people. But so far, as far as Republican candidates go, they're all soggy toast as far as I'm concerned. None of them were. It was not as entertaining as I wanted to be, but it was also not as informative as I was hoping. Like, none of the questions were pointed. None of them impressed or comforted or displayed anything resembling intelligence or an actual plan. There was a lot of, I did stuff in for my constituents or my state, but it's just there was not a single thing that I heard where I said, yeah, this guy may have something going for him. Like, for instance, Bernie Sanders. I'm not super sold on the guy. A lot of it reminds me of when Obama was running and promising the Earth and the sun and the moon.
Yeah.
But at the very least, some of the stuff he's saying, you could say, well, yeah, maybe, sure, I could swing with that. So, but nothing these guys said was comforting. Like, they were huge into, yes, religion will completely color everything I do, or yes, I completely am willing to defund Planned Parenthood.
Or yes, I will build a wall between here and Mexico.
Exactly right. Or it's just there was nothing. There was not a single nothing. There was nothing about them that made me even want to consider going that direction. I don't know if you had anything.
I actually saw something earlier today, and I can't remember who said it, so I hate saying things and not knowing where to attribute them. But I saw something that was something along the lines of, if you are a multi-billionaire and you're watching this, you probably were really turned on by all these things that these people were saying, because they were basically just talking about the issues that are important to super mega rich white guys. If you're, I mean, it seems like the people who are really concerned the most about the things that they're talking about, for the most part, are, what they call, job creators. The
17 people.
Yeah. And so I imagine the people who are like the ultra rich probably loved everything. They were just probably eating it up, and that makes sense.
Well, I mean, are you saying from a point of view that they didn't discuss anything that was going to affect those ultra rich people? Because all the time,
no, I think that they did talk about the things that affect the ultra rich, but that's why I think that the ultra rich would eat it up, because those are the issues that they care about. They care about immigration reform stuff because they don't want immigrant labor screwing up their workforce.
Well, I guess whatever the actual end result is any of the candidates not good for people like you or me.
Pretty much anybody that's going to be watching this.
Yeah, I don't think Trump watches.
If he did, that would mean we were really onto something here.
Probably. We'd have 7 people subscribed. Which goes into... actually, no, that does not go into...
No, our next thing to talk about is more related to one of our fields of actual expertise, which is the music industry.
Mm-hmm.
The last couple nights, the artist Pretty Lights has been playing at Red Rocks. There have been some reports from people attending that show that he did some somewhat unprofessional things, like left the stage for 40 minutes for an intermission when it was supposed to be a 15-minute slot, and then when he came back, apparently
got shit-faced.
The allegations are that he came back and just did really poorly after his... I wasn't there, I can't comment on that, but several people that I know well and respect their taste on music said that when he came back, he was not playing well. So then I think, okay, so what we're talking about here is a part of a larger issue. There is a larger issue with a lot of artists who will come to a show, and even though they're being paid to play the music,
and not any small sum, too.
Yeah, a lot of them are getting paid tens of thousands of dollars, maybe even hundreds of thousands of dollars. Ford Robinson's up at $200,000 a gig now. So lots and lots of money. And a lot of them can't be bothered to be sober for 2 or 3 hours in a night. Just to get, that's a lot of money to take in on a paycheck.
I think anybody watching, if I said I'll give you $500 to stay sober for an hour, you would do it.
Yeah.
There is literally like a very low, low barrier for me to pay you to convince you to be sober. So it's disrespectful is what it is. Because you have people paying to come see you.
And not paying small amounts of money either.
Exactly. Like paying, 50, 60, 70, $100
plus fees and whatever we call it for those.
Processing.
I call them Racket Master.
But that is something that I've hated. I mean, over the course of my career, that was one thing I was pretty adamant about. Is I got shit-faced after my shows. I mean, I think that everybody is free to do that. But during, actually, I'm lying. There was one time, and it was my birthday. That was the only time I was not sober during a performance.
I listened to that show, and I couldn't tell.
Exactly. See?
If you can be stoned off your ass and actually do a good job playing, go for it. Jimi Hendrix was always high when he was playing, but that was it. But
he was able to perform.
He was able to perform. But if you're the kind of person, and you ought to have enough people on your crew who are going to be honest with you and tell you, look, man, when you get high, when you go out on stage, you don't do a good job. And
we were talking about it earlier. Like you've got to be very, very, very fucked up to mess up, playing on Ableton or something. So.
Depends on how your set is set up.
True.
If you're playing the way that I'm not sure how Pretty Lights' setup is rigged, and like I said, I'm not making comments about him specifically, but I'm trying to make a comment about the industry in general,
Professionalism,
and how it is. It's almost acceptable for these people to be, they're expected to be doing drugs backstage and drinking and it's like
there's nothing wrong with that if
you've
not
already
affecting
played
your performance
set, or if it isn't. Yeah, exactly. So,
At Red Rocks, for fuck's sake. At Red Rocks, how many people would give their left fucking arm to play that venue? And this asshole can't stay sober for 15 minutes so that he can play.
So, Red Rocks is not the only place where I see this kind of thing happening either.
I'm saying it's specifically since we're talking about Pretty Lights, it's at Red Rocks.
It is. And I've seen other artists train wreck at Red Rocks. It's not even this one particular. I just think it's, in general, the whole industry has this problem where people don't draw the line and say, look, no, I will be sober until I'm done with my set, and then I will get as shit-faced as I want. But the other part that this kind of dovetails into is just more dealing with the professionalism or lack thereof in the industry. And that is that there's a lot of artists who spend a lot of time trash-talking other artists on social media. And that's a lot of it. These feuds are happening over Twitter. And
it's not specific to new artists. Or it's all of them. Mm-hmm. It's all of them. And I've noticed the less relevant they are, the more shit-talking they do. A lot of old school... To me, whether something is old school, new school, underground, overground, whatever the fuck it is, it doesn't matter. Is it good? That's usually my point of measurement. So, but I've noticed it more so with the older performers from yesteryear who nobody books because, maybe they had one sound style that was okay back in 2002 and they never changed or evolved or anything,
right?
And they blame the rest of the industry for not stagnating and staying at their level, and they'll bitch and moan and complain about or how you're supposed to do it, or
right, or what kind of equipment you're supposed to use, or
you're not a real DJ unless you use vinyl. I can play vinyl. I've got enough vinyl that I could probably drown a rhinoceros or way down a rhinoceros. I don't know about drowning a rhinoceros, but from a convenience point of view, why on earth would I carry 200 pounds of vinyl to a venue that may have a not properly grounded turntable, that might have rusted contacts, there's so much credit. So the fact that I've had people say, well, you're not a real DJ unless you play on... Why the fuck would I... It's like saying you're not a real mathematician unless you can do the calculations without any...
With a pen and paper or whatever. It's like...
Exactly right. Fuck you.
And so real mathematicians, if we're going to keep using this analogy, real mathematicians, once they actually start doing that as a profession, they're only using computers. Yeah. Because they're doing calculations that are way too complex for paper and pencil. That would take them months if they wrote it all out.
And that's not something that... Just because you can make something more difficult for yourself doesn't make you better at the end result. The end result is, are you playing good music?
Right. Yeah, like if you're a race car driver, you're like, look, man, I drive with my feet.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, what? So okay. Does that make you go faster?
Are you winning?
Yeah.
So and that's it, because I was hesitant when the vinyl CDJ switchover occurred, but when I started playing CDJs, I realized this is way more convenient. The tracks are a lot more clear. I don't have to worry about wearing down vinyl. I don't have to worry about... Literally, it was the weight. When I was traveling for gigs, I was taking 60 pounds of just stuff. And then I've had venues where I've gone to where they weren't clear about the genre, and I'll realize... well, shit, the stuff in this crate's not going to work. Whereas if you had CDs, you can
basically bring your whole collection of
exactly.
all your genres.
And now with USBs, I usually use USBs these days. You can literally carry 10,000 tracks with you in your pocket. So.
And it could be on one thumb drive, and you plug that in on one side, and you can transfer the songs from there over the other deck.
I'm still old school. I carry two.
Oh, you do? Oh, okay. Most of the clubs now, they'll have an Ethernet port connected between the two, and so you can use one thumb drive, and it has it for enough.
I've had enough issues where and I mean, how much weight is an extra thumb drive? $30-$40 for an extra. I'll deal with it.
Right.
but just the fact that you're not one of my favorite punching bags is Frankie Bones, who I dislike this character. I've had issues with him in the past, a couple of shows that him and I played, and he is just a very... I hesitate to use the word elitist because that implies you're good at something. But he's just the entire time I was opening for him. Fuck him. But the entire time I was opening for him, he kept saying I'm not a real DJ because at the time I was using CDs and he brought his vinyl, and he literally cleared the floor right as he got on. After when I got off, he got 2 tracks in, and everybody was gone. And I came, and I mean, being an asshole, it's what I do. I said, so this is what it's like being a real DJ, clearing floors. So, but to me, the format never mattered. Are you playing good music? Because most people are listening to the end result. They don't care what media you're using. So,
yeah.
Are you a good producer?
The only one who cares what technology you're using is yourself.
And the other asshole DJs in the crowd.
Yeah, who happen to be like there to check out what you're doing. And so,
like, those guys aren't even paying to get in, so nobody cares about them anyway.
The only people who really matter are the ones who are like there to see you because they, you invited them, or because they're there to buy drinks that night.
You're
have
not
to make sure
playing for other performers. You're playing for a crowd, and I'm not a huge laptop DJ. I personally don't like it, but I can see the advantages of it. Blendrix has found a way to integrate it into a lot of his shows, and he uses it in ways that even I don't know how to. I don't know how you do half the shit. But it's impressive, and he does it in a unique, interesting way, and I can't knock it. It sounds good, and it works very well for the style that he uses. Personally, not my thing.
We're very different genre-wise, and I don't know if everybody who's watching this is familiar with both of us, but the only thing we have in common in terms of our, in terms of music, is that we will occasionally listen to trance together, but we're like very, very different in the styles of music we play, and so that makes sense. We use different technologies, but the bottom line is that it doesn't matter what kind of technology you're using. If your fans like it and you're doing a good job using it, and it works well for you, and you get to spend more of your time actually making music, and more importantly, maybe even producing music. If you can spend less time fiddling with talking shit, or fiddling with your gear that needs a bunch of extra tweaking because it's antiquated, that's time that you can't be using to make more good music and to get better at doing the things that really impress people, that make people wake up the next day and go, man, that was an awesome show last night.
And that's one of the biggest reasons I stopped using turntables. Just the fact that I could never be sure if they're tuned, because you have to take them to get tuned, because sometimes they're not consistent as far as speed. Vinyl, you never know. There's so much shit. Like, there's no reason to deal with all this shit just so that one asshole in the crowd can say, well, okay, you're a real DJ. Fuck you, Frankie Bones. I don't care what you have to say. So it's well, I guess the point we were saying is maybe spend more time making good music instead of talking shit about people that are making better music than you. And maybe get with the times on it. I mean, if you're an old school antiquated DJ, probably the only place you'll be playing is old school antiquated events. There's a couple coming up this next month.
They're specifically like old school stuff,
exactly.
Old school music, playing on old school equipment, and great. If that's your thing,
then cool.
Have fun, play those shows. Great,
but some of us
don't
like to be some of us like to be a little bit more on the cutting edge, so to speak. So,
and electronic music has been all about the cutting edge for the longest time. It's all about taking the technology we have and pushing it further than it's supposed to go and making it make cool sounds.
And that's what's so funny about that, is the fact that people are saying, no, you're getting too high tech. It's like, it's electronic music. The whole concept of it is it's technological music. So it's
that's what techno is short for.
Exactly.
Technological.
Exactly. So yeah, shut up, make good music.
Yep. And don't be drunk or high when you're playing.
Be professional. You're being paid to do work. You're being disrespectful to the person hiring you. You're being disrespectful to the people
fans
paying that are going to see you. And you're being disrespectful to other people that do it professionally.
Yep.
You're being paid, and not a small amount. If you're being paid $10, I would say, well, fuck it.
Yeah.
But you're being paid in the thousands, the tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands. You can't stay sober for fucking 2 hours? An hour? 30 minutes? So, yeah.
All right. It's time for This Week in Thoroughly Stupid, or TWITS for short. Take it away, Gosh. You found this one. This is an ongoing issue, obviously. This is not necessarily in news, but it's something that keeps popping up.
It doesn't even keep popping up, but I guess we looked more into it this week. So, but they call themselves breatharians. Apparently, some idiot thought, hey, I can't even say. Some idiot says, well, we don't need food or water to survive, or to live, or to sustain ourselves.
All
the
we need
air will sustain us. And apparently a lady, this was a few years ago, well, 2 years ago, I think, who unsurprisingly starved to death by not eating because she thought she could sustain herself on air. How does your self-preservation instinct not kick in?
Well,
I guess when you're that stupid, then that's probably something.
Well, the self-preservation. I mean, this is the thing. Once you start really believing in something cuckoo, it doesn't. Your self-preservation instinct could take a back seat. I mean, think about like the people who blow themselves up over religion. Self-preservation doesn't keep them from doing that because they believe that there's something more important than their self-preservation.
I sort of yes and no. The thing is, when people blow themselves up for something they believe, it's not a process. It's an instantaneous explosion. Then they die. There's not a. But
okay, or say like the people who have become martyrs who were burned at the stake, and they could have at any point they could have said, all right, fine.
Can I tell you a really horrible story of how I used violence to stop suicide?
I got to hear this now.
Yeah, it's. I mean, don't do what I'm about to say. But I did have a friend who was actually very depressed and wanted to kill themselves.
Mm-hmm.
So I started choking them, and they actually fought really hard to not die.
Huh.
And then after I let them go, of course they were upset. And I said, well, if you really want to die, that self-preservation instinct would not have kicked in.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I'm saying. There's if it's a process that you can interrupt, self-preservation will kick in. But explosion, it's not like click. I'm in the process of exploding. It's click.
Yeah.
End
done.
of life.
Right.
Yeah. So it's that to me is like with these breatharians. It's like I'm starving to death. I would have eaten rocks at that point. So it's just
consuming items of no nutritional value.
I would have eaten my leg. Yeah. It's just I'm thinking at that point you're probably mentally handicapped. That's probably why that self-preservation.
Well, when you're that starved, you probably are mentally handicapped because when you're not getting nutrients, guess what? Your brain didn't work too well.
But that lizard part of your brain, there's a lot of things your body will do to keep itself going if most of your higher functions are not working. Mm-hmm. So, but yeah,
for instance, pretty much the guy who sort of came up with this whole idea has been caught multiple times sneaking food. Like,
I'm thinking he's related to the guy who linked autism to.
Yeah,
they're both morons.
Yeah,
but that's
So that's our This Week in Thoroughly Stupid. Time to give our final analysis of Krabby's here.
I know what I'm going to rate it.
I'm actually really impressed with the fact that this thing, even though it's gotten warm, it still tastes good.
It's flowery and
like you'd expect from ginger. It's very
It's really good. It doesn't taste like beer. It's very refreshing.
Yep.
It's I think for the summer, I would definitely.
Exactly. I would want one of these after mowing the lawn for sure.
Yeah, exactly. No, I definitely like this. I'd give it an 8.
I'm going to call it a 9 for me.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you have it.
Yep.
No, definitely like it. Good choice.
All right.
So, anything else we want to add before we let this one up?
I think we're pretty much
very cool.
done.
All right. Appreciate you guys tuning in. We'll try to dig into something more controversial for next episode. This one was a little tame in comparison, but as always, we appreciate the comments and the suggestions so far. So we will catch you next week for episode. Getting into the double digits.
Oh yeah, next time is going to be episode 10.
10.
Oh, and if any of you know Donald Trump, make sure you get him subscribed to our channel too, because
We can see you guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.